Ogre Magic was truly epic. Fail. The key component was that I still had Pandemonium on me. So I rolled 10 dice, and I was all excited because I was now into close combat against the Chosen, and I immediately started off by throwing 4 or 5 dice at the Flaming Sword of Ruin to cause my Iron Guts to wound more. And I rolled doubles. Not double sixes, just doubles. And then he proceeded to dispel it. So because of the doubles, I ended up miscasting, and I rolled the miscast where they both end up getting detonation after he, with Infernal Puppet, modified my miscast. So that thing was really dangerous with Pandemonium on. So I think he modified the miscast so there was a big pie plate on the Lead Belchers, and killed off 2 of them, which triggered a panic. Even though they were in the General's BSB reroll and Leadership 8, they failed. So they started running away and didn't get to shoot or fire breath this turn. 4 dice were also lost from the power pool, so I was left with 2 dice and my Butcher, and I really wanted to get off Toothcracker. But I also wanted to dispel that Pandemonium, but I said, what the heck? I'll roll for Toothcracker. It's pretty low cast. I want to get off on those Iron Guts. It'll really help. So I roll it, and I get double 5s. So that means that my Butcher also miscasts, and Pandemonium's still in effect. And so he ends up getting another really bad misfire after Infernal Puppet modifies it again. And I think it's the one that actually causes a bunch of wounds on him, and he loses D3 spell levels. So he lost 3 spell levels, so he was a level 2 to start, and then he went down to 0. So he's just a fat ogre at this point. But the good news was he got off Toothcracker. So the 12 Chosen plus the Sorcerer Lord were really no match for the Iron Guts with the Bruiser and Slaughtermaster with Troll Guts on him. So strength, toughness 5 and toughness 6. Not Troll Guts, but Toothcracker. So they slaughtered most of them, and the remainder of that unit fled. The victorious Iron Guts overran the Chosen and didn't catch them, but almost caught the Tzeentch Warriors, and if they'd been 1 more inch, I think they would have removed that whole unit, so that would have been pretty devastating. The Chaos Commander elected to not charge the Chaos Warriors with the Mark of Nurgle into the Noblars. Instead, he swift reformed them to get into the flank of the Iron Guts. The Chaos Lord, or the Chaos Hero on Disc, attempted to get the Iron Blaster with a charge, but came up short. In the key compulsory moves phase, the Chaos Commander had his Marauders and Tzeentch Warriors both rally, but the unit of Chosen with the Sorcerer Lord fled off the board. So that was a big hit to him. And at this point, I think he said he was regretting not choosing a Battle Standard Bearer in this force, as it would have been pretty helpful on those fleeing units. On the right flank, the Marauders continued their long trek to redeploy, and the Warhounds turned around, tired of playing cat and mouse with the Saber-Tusk, and readied a charge if he decided to move back into the battlefield. So this was the board after Chaos turn 2, since he had no magic or shooting. On the right flank, my Saber-Tusk humorously charged into the back of his, or attempted to charge in the back of his Marauders, and they decided to flee, and he rolled an 11. If he'd rolled a 12, he actually would have caught them and eaten that whole unit. But as it is, he failed the charge, and they are technically fleeing, although fleeing closer to the battlefield. On the left, the Iron Guts made their charge into the Tzeentch Warriors, and Fluffy, all excited and frenzied, missed. So he failed his charge, and so far hasn't successfully gotten in with anything. The Firebelly and Lead Belchers continue running off the board. I'm kind of surprised the Lead Belchers just didn't turn on the Firebelly and stomp him to death after he's killed 3 of them already. The Mournfangs on the left were too far away to charge, so they moved up their almost full amount, angled, and tried to hit as many of the Marauders with their Dragonhide breath weapon as they could. The Iron Blaster continued backing up away from the Chaos Hero on Disc, and that starts to become a little bit unfair, since he can basically pivot, move 6 inches away, pivot back, and the Chaos Warrior on Disc, or the Chaos Hero on Disc, really has a hard time. The charge distance becomes longer and longer with every failed charge, so Iron Blasters effectively gotten away, and the Noblars moved up in order to charge block the Nurgle Chaos Warriors. The Iron Blaster took aim and managed to pick off the Chaos Hero that had been hounding him for the whole game, so I think that was a fair trade-off of points there. In close combat, the Cinch Warriors ended up killing off the Butcher. He only had one wound left, and one of the Iron Guts. And in return, the Iron Guts and Bruiser took off almost 8 or 9 wounds, I think, from the Cinch Warriors. And even if they were a full unit of 18, it would have only taken 8 casualties in order to make that unit not steadfast against the Ogres here. So and they'd already taken, I think, 3 wounds from shooting. So it only took 6 or so. So that unit lost combat to the Iron Guts and broke, and the Ogres ran him down with a roll of 12. So at this point, opponent called the game. So I think a couple things really helped me this game, and none of them were named Pookie. The deployment really went in my favor in the fact that I was able to keep one of those Great Weapon Marauders effectively out of the battle, and the Warhound sort of redirector out of the battle as well. Well worth the 21 points on the Saber Tusk. And the Iron Guts were really able to handle those somewhat smaller units of Chosen, and by the time the Cinch Warriors had been whittled down a little bit, and the fact that I could keep getting charges with impact hits definitely helped the Iron Guts win those combats. Tactically, the Noblars were well worth their points. Even if the Chaos Warriors had charged them, they kept that big block of basically half of his major hitters out of the battle for the 2 most critical turns, and they may have even still been able to cause more issues down the road. And I think they may have killed somebody with sharp stuff. Miracles can happen. So they were certainly worth their 50 points, and I would definitely take them again. I know it was a bit disappointing not seeing the Stonehorn or Mournfangs charge into combat, but just their presence and their repeated redirects and charge range and danger of impact hits basically caused that whole flank to crumble without a fight, with both the Marauders and the Cinch Warriors fleeing on the first turn. This Chaos General also taught me a valuable lesson. If you have Pandemonium cast on your units, dispel it in your power phase, the very first thing you do. When he has Infernal Puppet and any roll of doubles is just too nasty. I hope you enjoyed the battle, and good game.